Welcome aboard Canal Light Vessel Automatic, Whitchurch's answer to pirate radio. Sadly, it's fully legal and not a radio station. On the plus side, Tony Blackburn is not with us, and seasickness tablets are unnecessary. So settle back for the lock-in, a meandering journey, occasionally fraught with the rusty shopping trolleys that fate throws in our path, as we get to know some of the people who have helped contribute to making our brilliant market town that also has a canal where we are. Who did we have in this week?
Dave?
Did we have in this one? Alan,
Well,
Thursday.
Dave's usually here.
Yes, I'm here reliably, but this week was Alan Scutt from the Whitchurch Foodbank, and it was fascinating to hear of the good work that he and his associates do.
Absolutely. Another corporate guy, engineering background like you, Laurie.
Yep, just in time, man.
So what do you think that skill, being an engineer, he's brought to the Foodbank operation?
I think he kind of rationalised the whole thing. It's been very successful. Team doesn't change, everybody gets
Yeah, that's
on.
amazing, isn't it? That retention of everyone and they've got a waiting list.
You have to apply to be working in the food bank, which is amazing, isn't it?
It's nuts actually. How well they retain their crew.
Yeah. And I think people are going to find that out when they listen to the pod.
They absolutely will.
So should we get on with the pod?
Let's. Just in time.
Just in time.
I should hope so.
On with the podcast. Already.
Right.
So I'll hand over to Mark just to do his normal spiel. And we're rolling, gentlemen.
Spielen.
Spielen.
Got a boat going past, so obviously what I'm going to say is incredibly important, so no, it's not. So,
Alan, thanks so much for coming on.
Pleasure. Much appreciated. During a shortish line so far of illustrious people from Whitchurch. And I think the prime reason you're here is very much in keeping with what we're trying to do. It's talking to people in the community who may be visible, doing things that are of benefit, whether that is have taken a risk in business, doing something directly in the community, working for a charitable organisation, and in some ways you could say you're at least two of those three, aren't you?
I guess so. Yes, that probably is a reasonable fit over that period. Yep.
Yeah. So you run the food bank in Whitchurch?
Yes, I do, and have done for 12 years. We started back in 2013. Perhaps I ought to tell you a bit about the beginning of Foodbank and why we saw it was necessary, because
that's absolutely key, because I was just about to, in 2013 you clearly have been discussion, you think, okay, there's a need for this.
Yeah, well, it was the local vicar, the Reverend Judy Hunt at that stage, had lots of people knocking on her door and saying, help, I need food, I need money, I need this assistance. And she brought it to the Churches Together group, 4 churches, and it was decided that we would set up a working group to look to see whether a food bank was necessary. Trussell Trust, as it was called then, it's now called Trussell, they've just changed their format a bit. They sent one of their area managers down, and we had a meeting, and I was given the responsibility of chairing this steering group with 2 members from each of the churches, and we did that for probably about 6 months, trying to identify, looking at national statistics, looking at demographics with regard to socio-economic groups, to see where the need was and if there really was a need.
Can I just ask you very quickly, because local people had come and said, I think we need this. You then clearly thought, okay, how do we go about it? And so it was it then finding an overall body, such as Trussell, that say, okay, how do we go about setting this up and getting supported? So was that, so local people did the homework on that, and that's what then got them involved? How did that work?
The way it worked there really was that Trussell were in the background with a very big manual that said, if you want to run a food bank, this is how you can run it.
Yeah.
We needed to prove to everybody in the community that a food bank was actually necessary, because there were a lot of people who were very suspicious and said,
Why would Why would they object or be against it? Why would you need? Or I would think it would be more about having to prove to Trussell that actually they should support you here, but not the case.
Not the case. No, it was more convincing local people that we had a need, because I guess most towns don't like to feel that they've got an area of poverty within.
Bad PR and people burying their heads in the sand.
So a bit of denial or something about
Only,
the reality.
I think it was, and one of the meetings that I went to was the Ipswich Town Council meeting. I went looking for money to get a grant from them, and I was advised in advance of that meeting that there wouldn't be a great deal of support because they didn't really see there was a need for a food bank. But Peggy Mullock, who was councillor at the time, she became a fantastic person as far as I was concerned in that meeting, because she stood up at the very beginning and said, I've just been with my school today where I'm a trustee, and the headmaster said to me, whatever you do, support this food bank initiative because we have people in need. So she said, I want you to listen to this man, and after the end of the meeting I walked away with £2,000.
Wow.
So and I would say now that the Whitchurch Council and the town have been one of our greatest supporters. I mean, they really have been tremendous behind us in all the time, which has really helped. We don't just cover Whitchurch, you see, we cover a geography that takes us, dare I say, over the border slightly into Cheshire. We go down the other side of Wem, and then we go across to about Ash, because Market Drayton Food Bank pick up from there. So we've got a geography that probably has a population of about 23,000 people.
That's a lot of people.
There's a lot of people. Sadly, there are people within that that do need our help. I mean, in 12 years, we've fed over 18,000 people. And when we first started, we had no idea really what we were in
so
for.
Are those 18? Because I was just doing a tiny little bit of research before you came here. Now, is that 18,000 individual people, or is that 18,000 parcels?
It's 18,000 persons.
Yep.
So a parcel might feed one person.
Yep.
It might feed a family of 6.
Uh-huh.
So within that 6, they would be within the 18,000. Last year we fed probably just short of 2,000, about 1,800 people last year. And when we first started, we had probably 6 to 8 people that would turn up in a week. That was all we would see. Sometimes we had some mornings where we just sat there and talked to each other because there wasn't anybody.
Yeah.
Sadly, that isn't the case today. The demand is much greater, and certainly after COVID, the demand took a real lift, and we probably in the last 5 years are now serving 3.5 times the number of people that we fed back in those days.
And is that there are obviously, when you look at stats, we can all view stats in different ways. And obviously there is increasing demand. Do you think any of that is due to increasing awareness of food banks, and so people think, oh, thank God I can actually make use of this? Or do you think poverty in the area or the actual need for it has also gone up as well?
I would say it's a combination of both. The way in which our operation is within Trussell is that everybody goes through a referral agency to get a voucher.
Is that a relatively... Because I was literally just about to ask you that, in terms of, I had a view, maybe naively, that food banks were originally set up where you could just turn up and say, look, I'm in desperate need, can you help me? Was that the case? Or has there always been a referral scheme?
There are food banks across the country. Within Trussell, there's probably about 450 food banks across the actual nation. and they all within Trussell work on a referral system.
Mm-hmm.
Other food banks, which are independent food banks, operate in very different ways.
Yeah.
From turning up, choosing your food, bringing a bag and saying, have you got anything to give me? So it's very different in the sort of independent side of food banks as it is to Trussell. And I think that's one of the things that we felt was good, because there were a lot of people who were saying, oh yeah, but you'll just get all the scroungers saying, I want food, and they're not prepared to work, and they're not, they're drug addicts, and they're all this. And they didn't have an understanding that there are a lot of people out there who don't want to use a food bank, but are in a desperate situation.
It's not like a first choice. It's not like an ideal. It's very great. It's great that it exists.
Yeah.
But it's not really someone's first choice,
No,
is it?
It isn't. And we've had people walk to the food bank and walk away. Literally walk away because they couldn't face
Embarrassed.
coming in the embarrassment.
Yep.
Yeah. I remember a soldier at one stage. He fought in Iraq, and he was waiting for his pension, and his family hadn't got any food. He'd got a wife and 2 kids, and she said, you'll have to get some food from the food bank. And he got to the door, and he turned around and he went away. And she brought him back an hour later and said, look, I know this is hard, but we've got to go in. It's just, some of the stories are really heart-rending when you see some of these people and what they've suffered.
I think that stigma around it is, I think, something that we all come across. And I don't get hugely angry about many things, but it does make me really angry. And it's often so judgmental. And yeah, of course, in any system, you might have people who will try and bucket and take advantage.
Of course.
But so many people don't do that. We pitched an idea. It was just actually around homelessness, and it's, there are some correlations here, aren't there? And I used to know lots of people who would say, why are you giving them money? They'll just do this, they'll just do that, they're this. And it's like, well, no, it's often not the case. Just because someone's on the streets, it's not usually their fault. They don't really want to be there. And it's the idea was that actually you'd have a guy in a suit going to work, and then you see his life disintegrate. So a couple of bits of bad luck, a couple of bad decisions, and it all goes really wrong. And it's it's there for the grace of God,
Sure.
I. And I imagine the food bank is very, very similar.
Yeah, Mark, it's very similar in many ways, that you'll have people from all sorts of backgrounds who will suddenly find somebody dies in the family. They've got to pay for a funeral.
Yeah.
The car packs up, or the fridge packs up, or whatever may happen that suddenly tips them over the edge. They're just about managing up until then. So yes, there is a stigma for some people to actually overcome, getting that move over the threshold, really. But we have found, I think, over the years that we've been doing this now, that because we have an amazing group of volunteers, they're all on the basis that they're non-judgmental.
That must be a hugely important part of what you do, and it's not just coming in and taking the food. It's providing a bit of understanding, a bit of reassurance, and understanding that there are going to be people coming in with so many different situations, and even, as you said, brilliantly put about this ex-soldier coming through that door, and getting through that door is such, I would imagine, for a lot of people, a mental hurdle, especially when they're in difficult circumstances as well.
Sure. And what we've always done, and we continue to do, is that we're more than food. It's not just turning up, picking up a food parcel and walking away. We let people talk. And sadly, we have a lot of single young men and women who are very lonely. And now they've got an opportunity to actually come and express themselves just for a short time with somebody else. And we can then signpost them to other organisations that can be of help to them. And that's our main purpose, is to try and get people off the food bank onto an area where it's going to solve the crisis. Because what we say is that we're there to meet somebody's crisis. That crisis might be for 2 days, it might be for 6 weeks, but we're there to provide that assistance.
Yeah, otherwise, yeah, it's a bit like ideally would be a temporary thing, wouldn't it? But like training wheels or like crutches if you've broken your leg, just to help you get back on your feet, rather than to be in perpetual reliance upon.
We certainly have a process whereby if we find somebody being referred to regularly, we will go back to the referrer and we will say, how long was this going on for? What is the reason here? Is there a way in which we can move people away from the reliability on the food bank? Because you don't want that. You don't want people to become, I've got to get to the food bank. I've got to go. That's the only way I can survive. There are issues. There are issues that, we look at with regard to national government. The universal credit situation.
Yeah, of course.
Not an easy scenario for people. When they're first moved on to universal credit, they have to wait 5 weeks.
It's 5 weeks, isn't it? There's that delay.
Before they get any money.
Yeah.
So what do? They say, well, you give them a loan. Most of these people are in debt before they even come to us.
And they can be already in a kind of culture of reliance on benefits anyway, because it's a bit of a punt, isn't it, to move away from that security.
It is.
Because if I work a bit, I'm going to have benefits taken off me, and then I've got a 5 week delay if that job falls through to get back on the wheel.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, life keeps on ticking, and I've got kids, so it's not an easy choice for people.
No, you're totally right. We have found lots of people that get into that catch-22 situation with regard to the amount of hours they work and their payments. And Trussell, as an organisation who I have tremendous regard for, they've been fabulous to us. I mean, the support we've had over the 12 years has been amazing. But they've been pushing centrally with government for years in improving the situation. In fact, they got it down from 6 weeks to 5 weeks because of the pressure they put on.
Really?
Yeah.
Are they being like outsourced? Is it like
it happened?
That's incredible.
Is it like being outsourced? A bit like oh my god, like how the Poppy Fund makes up for the shortfall of the MOD. Not that there's anything wrong with the Royal British Legion. It's very great, does great work. Don't politicise the poppy. I know, but very similar territory, right?
Yeah, it is. Trussell work as an organisation. I mean, they've grown as an organisation in support of the food banks around the country. So we have, area managers, and we have people that work within certain functions within Trussell that will assist and help us. But at the same time, they're also their CEO, who is called Emma Reevy. I know her well from a committee that I sat on. And Emma is absolutely passionate about... Yeah, bless you.
Excuse me.
Passionate about getting through to government circles. I mean, recently, it was only last week, they had what they called a lobby day down in Westminster, where there was about...
700, wasn't it? Or something? I've read about that.
Yeah, 700 or 800 representatives from food banks were down there, meeting their MP, trying to,
Because it really is the sharp end, isn't it? You look at the ills and the woes and the problems in society. The ultimate end of that spear is the fact that people can't afford to eat.
Yeah,
and so that is the ultimate symptom, that you can't afford to eat, and then underneath it, everything else that's going on. You touched on single people, loneliness. We what is it? 20% of people, 30% of people live month to month. You look at the kind of the debt figures in this country. Everybody's not that far away from things becoming difficult. But I think the point about loneliness that you made, you talked about your staff, and it'd be great to hear where you find your volunteers from. But it's more than just handing over a parcel. There's so much more. It's conversation, it's community, it's empathy, it's a feedback loop back into the system to see we think this needs addressing. So it's doing so, like many of these organisations, it does so much more than, pardon the pun, what it just says on the tin.
Yeah, I think I would say to you that whenever we train people that say they would like to come and be a volunteer with us, we have a full training session with the people. They spend about 4 hours with us on the first time as we go through the whole process of what happens within a food bank. And at that point, I think nearly everyone that's come into us from the very beginning almost has said, I've got no idea this is what it's about. I thought you just turned up with a bag and we were just piling food into a bag. I had no idea what was actually happening. And we try and create an environment. We've got the use of Bargates Hall.
Yep.
And we split it. So we
Can
have...
I just say, it's like military precision when you go in and you drop a parcel off. It's brilliant.
Yeah, well, it works.
It does work.
Works. And I think that's it. You know, we've got such a good lot of systems now that we have just honed and improved over that period of time.
So you, you've been involved in this from the start, and you've clearly put your marker and your colleagues' markers on it. You've all clearly inputted into it. What's your background? What's
Right.
What's let you do this? What's made you so good at it? Well, and also what got you involved in it in the first place? So, a bit about you, your background.
A bit about me. My prime background is that I'm an electrical engineer. I went into management with regard to running Eastern Electricity's contracting service when Eastern Electricity were around. I then worked for another company to deal with compressors where I was commercial manager, and I spent most of my life really commercial management. I mean, I gradually moved away from the electrical bit quite early on. And
is that you're not? Are you from here originally, or
no? I was born in London.
Oh, whereabouts?
In a place called Streatham, South
I know.
London.
St Wreatham, obviously.
St Wreatham, yes,
of course.
That's it. Good old Del Boy.
God blimey, mate.
That's it. And then I say moved out of London to work with Eastern Electricity, because I was with the GLC for a time in London as a design engineer. So, having moved out into the wilds of country life, because we moved to Essex first of all, to Clacton-on-Sea.
Good God, country life, Essex does that exist?
I mean,
I was thinking nightlife.
It's probably a bit loose, really. So we then moved into Suffolk, where we were for about 30 years, when our three sons grew up in Suffolk, and having then done all that for quite a few years, my wife and I decided that we could we could put ourselves into other areas and just stand back a bit. The opportunity was there, and so we ran a Christian conference centre for 7 years out at Calver Hall, a place called the Cloverley Hall Christian Conference Centre. So we did that for 7 years, and then had bought or moved our house to Whitchurch. And then when we packed up that, we suddenly found that we were on this committee for a food bank. And that's really, I suppose, where it all started for me and for my wife, who has been working alongside me for all those 12 years. We had another couple called Tony and Eileen Livesey. They did 10 years with us. And I'd say that probably now 45% of our volunteers that work with us, and we've got over 40 volunteers, started with us back 12 years ago.
That's excellent employee retention. And your KPIs must be through the roof.
Yeah, I reckon they will. I could tick off a few boxes on that one. So I think answering some of your questions is that my commercial background, my ability to work with spreadsheets, to work with systems, did a lot of stuff with the Toyota system of just in time. And
oh, really?
Yeah.
So you've pretty much written the book, haven't you?
So a lot of that worked quite well with Foodbank, and we've designed most things around that, and it works. And everybody's so good. I mean, they give up their time, these people. Some come in just once a month. Others, they want to be there all the time, and they want to know why they're not on the list. When we first started, we perhaps had 6 to 8 volunteers needed to run Foodbank in the morning. Now 16 are required every morning, and we have to use the whole of the premises. So it has changed, and we've changed with it. And the people that we've got have also been very prepared and very willing to change.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really where we are now, because Chris and I, my wife and I, are stopping this now at the end of June. I'm currently trustee as well and chairman of the trustees, which I will continue to do for a bit longer until we just get everything on a even keel. And others are going to have to take up the mantle. But we've always worked on the basis of running the organisation purely by volunteers. Nobody was paid in the whole of the 12 years up until now, but there aren't so many people retiring in their 50s anymore. So you don't find people who are saying,
changed.
what am I going to do with my time? And in those early days, there were lots of people who were prepared to give their time and give it freely.
And I think in many ways that's symptomatic of why we need the food banks, because things have changed a lot.
Changed a great
deal. You haven't got the time. You don't. Ultimately, we all need to get paid. We all need to earn money. And I think the work. This is not a debate about global capitalism, digitalisation, etc., etc. But as you rightly say, times have changed, and we have less time, and there's more demands on the money that we do earn. Which,
I think also people's pensions are different now. There's a whole generation of person that would have got a final salary pension from a big company or a local authority, and they would have been able to retire in their mid-50s and everything's fine. And then there's a new generation of person, me being one of them, where your pensions are completely private, you deal with them, you're going to get a state pension plus whatever you've managed to cobble together in your own private fund, which means you can't just bail out at 55.
Absolutely.
You've got to wait till 65 in my case.
And more.
Well, actually 66 in my case. But and more for anybody who's born after me.
Yeah.
So that makes a lot of difference, doesn't it?
So your volunteers, are they obviously, okay, they have a little bit of time, but again, you clearly, it doesn't matter how much time they have to give, it's what time suits them and can suit you. So you understand that people are individuals and they have different hours available to you. Is there a certain kind of person that volunteers for you?
This sort of person would be somebody who has got empathy to other people's situations.
Mm-hmm.
The people that come to us and say, I'm interested in dealing with the food bank and helping in any way I can, is because they are concerned about people. So they've got to have a heart for the work. And I think if you haven't got that, then you won't stay. I mean, in 12 years, I think there's only been 2 people that I can think of that started to volunteer and then said, well, no, perhaps it isn't for me. Other than that, everybody's stayed. And we had the unique situation for a number of years where we used to have a waiting list to be a volunteer.
Wow.
Because we had so many volunteers. I mean, when you get to around 40 volunteers on a rota system, you've got to say, well, it's only fair that those people are given an opportunity to actually be on the rota. And if you take on too many people, then that doesn't become the case.
And do you think, again, thinking about this, volunteering, we all, to a point, want to volunteer. We all have things that we believe in. If I lived on the sea, by the sea, I would definitely join the RNLI. The water is my thing. Unfortunately, I think there would be more accidents at sea if I was there. So, luckily I'm just at least on a canal boat. But to me, when you look at organisations and you want to volunteer, they're often not very flexible because they can't be. From what you've just said, if you wanted to volunteer, you make it very, very flexible. So you can pretty much take anyone that's got a bit of time and is keen. And I think a lot of charities can't do that. They're almost quite inflexible. And to me, that seems a real benefit with what you've got here in terms of getting volunteers.
Yeah, we've never struggled to get volunteers, as I said to you, with a large percentage, and for probably the first 8 years, we never lost a volunteer at all. Nobody died or dropped off the end, so they were all there right from the very beginning, which was quite an amazing feat to keep people for an 8-year period. And they have a commitment, these people. Their commitment might be, I'm sorry, I can only offer you, a couple of times a month, or I'll be there every time you open.
But you both know where you stand.
You do. And also there's a different skill level, because within the food bank, which you've seen, Mark, you've got people who are dealing with meet and greet, who are actually meeting the clients who are coming in. They've got to be good listeners. It isn't about telling your own story when you're sitting there. It's listening to what the person's situation is, and then gently offering some ideas of ways in which further assistance could be provided to them. Or you may be somebody who's very good at lifting and moving and shifting, and we've got plenty of stock to move around. In 12 years, we've seen amazing donations that come into the food bank, and I would say now my figures are, let's see, on food, 230 tonnes plus we've had of food.
Wow, so that's a lot of stuff to shift, isn't it?
That's a lot of
shifting stuff's useful.
Yeah, so somebody who's got a bit of muscle is always very helpful. And that doesn't have to just be men. That we got some very capable ladies who shift stuff. But what we have seen is, because we've been going for that period of time, a lot of our volunteers who started in their 60s or 70s are now finding that there are certain things they can't do at the food bank. So we've adjusted, we've brought other people in, we've adjusted some of the roles that some people can do.
Well, you've retained like a lot of people for a long time, so I bet like a lot of people to know each other.
They love it.
I bet there's a huge sense of, dare I say it, community.
There is. There's an amazing community within the food bank, and they will just gel every time they come. Even if they're one of the people that only turns up every 4 or 5 weeks, they're just as knowledgeable and welcome as everybody else, and they fit straight in. I'm always amazed that when we open up Food Bank in the morning, it's 2 empty halls, and within 10 or 12 minutes, all these people are buzzing around me, putting everything up. Tables are going up, screens are going up,
hive of
computers. It is just incredible. I would say to you, they are the lifeblood, our volunteers.
Oh, I bet.
And all credit to my wife, because she has managed the volunteers over all that time, and she really cares about them. And they know that. They all get a birthday card, They all get a Christmas card.
Nice personal touch. That's lovely.
So is this the right opportunity for you to say to us how you can volunteer if you want to?
We've got a waiting list.
Well, apart from the waiting list, but I guess this is the right platform to sort of say, if you wanted to volunteer, how would you go about it? You
would write to us you can either use our website, which is www.whitchurch.foodbank.org.uk, or you can email us on info@whitchurch.foodbank.org.uk.
We'll stick a slide on the end of the...
That was almost like you knew that in advance, wasn't it?
I know, right? It's very good.
It was enunciated very clearly.
Amazing.
Yes, that's all my Whitchurch Theatre Group, yes.
That as well. The theatre group. But yeah, that we'll and I would just on the volunteering. And I think, if people are moving to a new community, and you've touched on loneliness as well, which I think is a huge part of mental health. And I think loneliness exacerbates so many other things, and it's sad. And I think we all really, where we can do our bit to try and combat that. And having experienced it, and I think most of us have experienced it at some points, and if we haven't, we're lucky, but we might well do in the future. But they often say that volunteering is a great way to actually get involved in a community. And I was thinking about the loneliness that some of your customers, your clients will be experiencing. But I imagine the community, as Dave's just pointed out, the community feel that you get from the people who are actually volunteering. Have you ever had anyone who's used the food bank and then come and volunteered for you?
As such, no, because there's a whole thing of confidentiality.
Right.
That everybody has to sign confidentiality agreement when you start partaking within the food bank as a volunteer. And whilst many food banks up and down the country have had that opportunity of finding people to come in and work within them, a lot of people know people, and therefore, there would be a resistance if we had people perhaps who had been helped by the food bank and were then sitting there talking to people who were then coming in from the food bank.
Right, so something about boundaries.
What we try and do is to get them to tell us their story and to give us their background. We've had some great instances. I mean, I've stood there and there was a lady came in with a bag of food, and I said, "Oh, that's very kind." And she said, "Well, I hope I've got it right." So I said, "I'm sorry." So she said, "Well, 2 years ago," she said, "you helped me with food." And she said, "I've tried to remember all the items you gave me because I'm now on my feet and I want to help somebody else in the same way."
Oh wow, they're kind of like for like. Here's what you gave me, I'm giving it back.
Exactly.
Wow.
It was quite a special and that's not the only one. I mean, there's been other issues of people turning back up and saying, "Look, you helped me out of a hole. I'm back on my feet and I really want to help other people."
Well, that's lovely, and that's as it should be, isn't it? You pass it on.
It's it's very heartwarming when you get those stories.
And I was going to ask you, and I think I like to think there is a really altruistic side to people, and then I have an internal philosophical debate, which can go on for a long time until my brain just gives up. Does true altruism ever really exist? Because ultimately I think we do things because it's either our conscience telling us to do something, or we get something out of it because we're nice people, hopefully, and we give something. What have you, and maybe it's a very obvious question, what would you say that it's given you and you've got from it, and you look back and go, "Crikey, that's taught me that," or "I never really thought about it like." What's it given you?
Right.
And your wife?
Yeah.
Not that you'd ever speak for her, of course.
Would I dare?
Just do you, Alan.
Would
Just
I
do you. I'll do me. Dave can do Dave. Laurie can do Laurie.
We came into Foodbank at the very beginning because we felt it was important that something was done. We came in as Christians to say we felt that there was a way in which the church could help other people. And as I said to you at the very beginning, there were 4 churches that formed this churches together, and we've had tremendous support from the churches. People recognise that people were in need, and if the church can't stand up and start helping people in that situation, it's a pretty poor state. So we wanted to be involved and to give our time in that way. We don't only just have Christian people working in the food bank. There's people from wide spectrum, and there's never been a problem with everybody getting on. But we do work on the basis that it's got a Christian base, and as Jesus said, if I see someone hungry, then I would want to feed them, and that's what we're doing. We're trying to see that situation and do something about it. And so what's it given me over the years? It's given me, I would say personally, the opportunity to use the skills that I've learnt in life, then doing that to help others. Mm-hmm. And I think that's always a good thing, if you can apply what you've learnt and somebody else can gain the benefit from it. So our organisation, our structure, our people, the way we deal with people, I think has been probably recognised by the fact they're still with us.
Of course.
And want to be there.
So I suppose you're not so much like giving something back, it's just like putting something in, period.
Trying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you discover that what you were expecting to get from helping people and what you did get from it were completely different? Because I remember volunteering for a blind charity riding tandems, and in my rose-coloured glasses world, I thought these lovely people would think I was a superhero and they'd be grateful and I'd feel fantastic because they.
And then you ride the bike into the canal.
And then it turns out you're just for some very people who are very challenged. You're just another provider of a service that they need, and what you get from it is nothing to do with someone being grateful or seeing you as a superhero, but you get from it that you're providing something that's desperately needed, and you didn't even realise that when you first started.
Probably a lot of that. I mean, we had no idea the level that it would rise to. I mean, we've had one morning with 28 clients in at Foodbank. One morning. When I said to you when we started, there were like 6 to 8 possibly in a week. So things changed very much over that period of time. Society has changed over those 12 years as well, and the pressures upon people. You mentioned, Mark, about people affording to buy their food. The last couple of years have been difficult for us because we have found that we've had to purchase more food for the food bank because our donations have been going down. People are finding it tough themselves, and where we would normally have picked up 8 trays from Sainsbury's, we do one if we pick up 4. So there's a lot of
well, that's
pressure.
a little bit different, though, isn't it? To maybe like your average household might have there's less to spare, but Sainsbury's.
Wait, no, sorry. When I say Sainsbury's, let me put that in context. There's a bin that we have in Sainsbury's that people allocate food to.
Understood.
From our list. So that's nothing to do with Sainsbury's. If I'm going to give a glowing report of anybody, it's Sainsbury's.
Oh, fair enough.
They have been.
It's people who are donating food from there.
No, I understand.
They've been
understand
absolute stars, Sainsbury's. The people and the staff there. We often get a call to say, "I've got this money. What is it you need?"
Oh, fantastic!
And they'll buy us food.
My mistake. Big up to Sainsbury's. Sorry,
Yeah,
Sainsbury's.
No, we have bins in Tesco's. We have bins in the co-op in Wem. So we get support. There's no doubt. But it's just that things have been tough. I mean, the supermarkets are probably about 30% down on 2 years ago. Individual donations are probably about 50% down on 2 years ago. And people are finding it hard. So that means that we're now spending a lot more money in buying food.
Well, yeah, if there's less charitable donation.
And that also suggests, it's interesting that you point that out, and to me that suggests that a lot of your previous donations, rather than coming from, say, for example, corporates or businesses, they're coming from the individuals. So if you're the individual who's facing a larger shopping bill each month to feed their family, to feed themselves, to feed their children, they might have put £5 aside, £10 aside for the food bank. And obviously they're not doing that now because obviously they want to feed their children and they want to feed the family and don't want to have to use the food bank, which suggests to me a lot of the donation has been coming from individuals who live in the community.
The community in the Whitchurch area have been amazing. I mean, I include Wem in that because we get a tremendous support from the people in Wem. But I couldn't really praise them enough. I mean, we get so many people who turn up this time of year. They'll come and say, "Look, I'm growing green beans at home. I've got these. Would you like these to give to your people? Or, I've got a few courgettes here," and they'll turn up.
Is that a challenge dealing with food that's been grown by other people, that's not packaged in a sort of supermarket friendly packet with a sell by date and all these other things? Is that a challenge?
The WI fell foul of that, didn't they? Because they put stuff on the stickers. Sorry.
Yeah, no, we operate a system with items like that, a bit like our what's called the treats table. The treats table is items that don't really fit into what we issue, as a standard meal package, and also items that have within 3 months of the best before date expiry. So after that, we will hold them for 3 months, and people would take it at risk. So the same with fresh fruit. We will put it up on our board, and we'll say, today we've got some runner beans. If you'd like to help yourself with runner beans, or some potatoes here that people have brought in,
like short dated stuff, or like yellow label stuff. Almost.
Well, yeah, but it's fresh. You see, it's the thing that we will always watch is that we keep control on the food that we issue. Everything that we have that comes into the food bank is labelled, and it's labelled with a label that identifies by colour its year and by number its month. So we can see immediately what year food we're actually using, what food is coming up to its date that needs to be issued, and any food that is going out of date. So we never ever issue any food to anybody that is not within its best before date. Mm-hmm. Once it hits that date, it will move to the treats table for 3 months. People can take it at their own risk, and they're aware of that. But we also have support from people like Belt and Cheese. They are stars. They ring up and say, Alan, we've got some cheese, would you like to come and pick it up? And we go, and there's large boxes of cheese, often coming up at fairly short dates, sometimes even longer dates.
So I thought we were even recording. You talked about, obviously some of the guests that we've had on and are coming on. You talked about Maria and Stella, and that they've put stuff together. And you've had a lot of support from businesses on the high street. You've had a lot of support from corporates and from bigger businesses, and individuals, private individuals who you've just talked about. Yeah. Has any of that surprised you?
Oh, some of it is just amazing. I can't tell you. I'll have to be careful how much I tell you. But let's say it's a man well in his 90s who rang up one day and said, I'd like to give some money to the food bank. So I said, that's very kind, and £200 came from this gentleman. A couple of weeks later, he rang up, and he was knowing me by name then, and he said, Alan, he said, I'm coming up to 96 now, he said, and I've just won £500 on the premium bonds. I don't need that, he said, so it's coming to you. Well, we were getting a little worried at one stage that, does his family know what he's doing with his money, And so I wrote a very careful letter to him, and he then rang me and said, Alan, he says, I want you to be sure of one thing. I might be 96. I've got all my marbles. Yeah. He said, my daughters don't need it. They know exactly what I'm doing with the money. And he said, if I want to give it to you, I'm going to give it to you. Now, I'd have to say that we've probably had from that gentleman alone over £3,000.
Flippin' heck.
Just incredible.
Why? Again, with charities, and we all have our. I think a lot of us have our charities that we believe in, whether we've been affected by it, whether we've seen someone we love affected by it, whether it's been part of our life. But there seems to be, let's say you might have your 2 or 3 pet charities, there seems to be a universal belief across everybody in supporting a food bank. Would you say that's fair?
Not universal. Okay. We've done collection days in Tesco in the past where we've been challenged by people who say that you shouldn't exist. You're just helping the scroungers. And
not even in an ideal world sort of way, like in it.
No.
Oh, that's
you shouldn't
nasty,
exist.
Isn't it? No, you shouldn't
in an
really.
Ideal world. Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
Gently, really. I mean, because at the end of the day, what we say to people is, look, we don't make the decision of who has the food. The referrers do that because everybody goes through a referral agency. When we get the referral, if we feel that there is an issue of somebody playing the system, we will go back to the referrer. We insist that they stay with one referral agency, so they can't just fish around. And I think what's happened over those 12 years is that most of those people who were sceptical have recognised that the food bank are doing a good job.
Absolutely.
They might not like the fact that we've got to have one.
No.
And they might not like the people who have to come to the food bank.
I might not like the fact that I see a bit of literature. I might not like the fact of something, but it doesn't mean that it's not going to exist just because I don't like it.
It's actually amazing, this concept of scroungers, because I knew, obviously, we were interviewing someone from a food bank, and at no point did I think it had anything to do with scroungers. In fact, I was more curious as to the fact that you have a higher demand, whether it was just that people were too embarrassed to come and see you in the early days, and that actually they were all there needing you, but couldn't bring themselves to come and see you. At no point did I think that it was full of scroungers.
No.
And I might be wrong, but I just didn't even think it was a thing.
We have probably on our books about 95 different referral agencies. So that can be anything from a health visitor to the local doctor to the housing association to probation officers, midwives, wide spectrum. And they see those people in their situation, and they go out of their way to try and help them by contacting us. Like Maria at Fill Your Boots. She saw that the food bank was doing a good job, so she set up over Christmas time with another 3 stores within the town, the Luke's Wine Bar and Moo and Boom, to run a raffle. And she, for a couple of years, brought us this enormous great cheque.
Fabulous.
And Stella, down at Moo and Boom, she wrote a book with her friends of poetry. And what did she do with the money that they made? About £1,600 came to Food Bank.
But Stella and Maria are having had, listen to they're brilliant, both really
Just
engaging,
incredible.
Great stories. But they're both driven. Okay, yes, they have Refill Your Boots, they have Moo and Boom, but they're also driven by so many other things as well. There's a real ethos of trying to make things better. You look at the whole ethos of both of their shops. Stella being a B Corp,
Sure.
Maria, this ambition to reduce waste, shop more mindfully. And again, a really interesting chat with Maria about how people shop and how we shop and how we go about things and how we go about our lives. Everything is frantic. And actually, we kind of, and it's not really in the way she does things there. It's not reinventing the wheel. It's how our grandparents or my grandparents would have shopped. It's slightly slower. It's what do I actually need? It's putting things in bags rather than everything being sorted out by the supply chain. And I'm not going to knock a supply chain because obviously, Alan, you've done very well with your supply chains. And it's just an interesting way of looking at things. And we talk about society being more selfish, and I suppose just the point about the charities is I might want to go, right, I support these 2 charities each year. I give them a cheque, for example, each year. Whether it's, I used to do the St Martin's in the Field when I lived in London, because I really liked what they did and what they stood for. And it was on Radio 4 a lot, so obviously I couldn't miss it. But the thing is, you can always, if you have a little bit spare, the food bank is something you can always do because it's quite accessible and it's quite easy. For example, when you are shopping, if you have a little bit. And I think that's where it works. And I think it is, like so many organisations, it is a story. It partly tells the story of society and where you live, and I think it can define it. The success that you've had with it, and the support that you've had from various organisations, I think is quite nicely definitive that people do care, and you found that you've come here, and you found that people really do care, from yourself and your wife, the volunteers, and the businesses, and the public around.
Yeah, it is heartwarming to see that support, and we've got businesses. We've mentioned a couple there. We've got organisations like Rotary, the St Ortman's Lodge. They are excellent. They will suddenly ask, you're doing this because we do special things like we help with schools during the summer, during the long holidays, to help the families that are going to struggle. We do Christmas parcels when we help families to have a Christmas lunch. We have
because Christmas is it's all, we see the adverts. It can be the worst, most miserably awful time of the year. Christmas.
That's me.
No, we'll come here then.
I'm sorry.
But it can be awful.
Yeah, and what we've tried to do with the cooperation of the schools, who we work very closely with, is that we ask them which families are going to struggle, because a lot of people just about manage until it gets to that time of year. And with the help of Viagen turkeys, who have provided us with rolled turkey for the last N years that we've been doing this, we produce a whole Christmas dinner for them that they can cook. So all the component parts are there, they can choose what they want. We also put food into their storage cupboard, and we give new toys to their kids. And all those toys are either donated or the money is donated to us to help us do that.
Fantastic. That.
About 100 odd families that we look after over that period of time. We have to hire I say hire, but they're very good. They often let us use it. The market hall next to what was the Civic, because it's a logistical challenge to do that, to get all that lot out. And then we have a fleet of drivers who come in and deliver it to them on the 23rd of December.
Amazing.
Door to door, And the lovely little messages that you get back from those people, just 1-2 liners. Somebody will send a card back and say, this has just made my Christmas.
That's lovely.
So, it's very good. And the quality of the people that we have working with us are just second to none.
It is amazing, actually. It's something. My brain can be quite tangential, so apologies. But just even in this conversation, how we have a view, you have a view, I have a view of something, and that might be right, it might be wrong, but it's never the full view. And even in this kind of 45 minutes, you've imparted so much information that I wouldn't even have thought about, but just by this conversation that we're having. That is an incredible story, and just how it is so much more than what you see just on the tin. Of course it is, but it's where it kind of the arms reach out into, and the different parts of lives that it touches, and the community that you've got internally. It must be something I know you pride is a sin, but you must be quite proud.
It's been quite humbling working in this situation.
I bet it has been.
Many ways.
I bet it has been.
But there is a great joy.
Yes.
To working in it, and like most organisations, you just don't see what's going on under the water level.
Of course you don't. No.
And there's a lot of stuff that happens.
There's a swan out there. It's very, very elegant, but you can tell it's frantically paddling underneath.
Yeah. Well, that's my wife and I. We tend to get those little feet going, and that works quite well. But as I say, we're coming to a halt, and there's a young lady called Hannah who is going to be the project leader in future. She will continue giving her time on Tuesdays and Fridays as a volunteer, but we'll just pay her to do the back office work.
Yeah.
Which I suppose gives me a chance to plug that if anybody wants to give to the food bank, then we have ways that you can do that. And we have a lot of people who have standing orders.
Plug away.
We would be very pleased to hear from you if you would like to donate some money, or if you would like to increase your donation. That would be wonderful. We started off 12 years ago when I put a suggestion out that said, why don't we ask people to give £1 a month?
Mm-hmm.
And a few people poo-hooed me and said, well, that's a waste of time, that's only £12 a year. I said, yeah, but if you get 100 people paying £12 a year, all of a sudden it's going up. And now we're finding some people who are paying over £100 a month to us.
So can people set up their donation to the same web address and email that you have provided already?
The one I provided earlier for our website, you look up our website.
We'll stick on the slide at the end.
We'll certainly be putting
just
on
remind
the
us
slide.
of that.
Yeah, the website is www.whitchurch.foodbank.org.uk. And on there you'll find how you donate money. It would tell you, and you can set things up there.
Yeah, we'll put it all in the
which would be just wonderful, because we are going to now obviously increase our cost because we've got to pay somebody.
Have you just on that £1? I actually think that's a great idea, because one, people will give it and they might upscale it, and also once you've set up. Did you hear about the million pixel website?
No,
which has now been trademarked. There was a kid somewhere, I can't remember where he was, and he basically said, and it was almost a gag, I'm going to sell on my script 1 pixel for $1. It's going to be called the $1 million pixel. And he did it because it was such a wacky idea. He raised his $1 million
right.
of various companies sticking a pixel on there because it was a great PRable story.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry. Now you've talked fascinatingly about the food bank and what you've done. Genuinely, I've learnt so much. So I really appreciate that.
Thanks for your time.
No. I have lots of time. Just trying to use it usefully. But you being incredibly nosy and failed creative, I think you mentioned a theatre group.
Oh.
Come on, let's hear about that. Say a bit about you.
That's just a bit of what I do at some stages.
Just a bit of fun.
Bit of tread the boards, So I've been doing that for a few years now with the Whitchurch Little Theatre Group.
Did you
recently? You may have seen The Vicar of Dibley.
I wish I'd been to see that.
Oh, it was sold out. Yes,
I bet it was.
It was.
Who did you play?
David Horton.
The guy, the father of the chap that was in 4 Days and a Funeral.
You've got it.
Yes. You played him, did you?
I played David Horton. Yes.
Excellent.
Yes, it was great fun.
Is that something you've always done, Amdram?
Yeah, I've done Amdram really right back from school days and other outlets that I've used. Yes,
right, okay.
So I've played a lot of different parts. I mean, I like comedy, but I also like some serious stuff as well. So I enjoy it. Even at this grand old age.
No, I'm sure my ex's daughter, she'd always wanted to do it, and during COVID we got it into a little place in Wellington in Telford. I think it was like the Little Belfry, and it was hilarious. It was like an entire little community, but she absolutely loved it, and I can completely see why it appeals. So did you start at school, or is it something you could developed?
I started at school. Did school productions. There was then a group that the guy who ran our drama at school, he set up Group 64, which was people who left the school and wanted to do theatre. I spent 10 days up at the Royal Court Theatre in London doing a course.
I can tell you're an actor because you don't say theatre, you say theatre.
I was taught to trip and to cough by Peter Bowles.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Peter Bowles.
As in to the man of ball.
You got it.
Oh, I love Peter. I just love his moustache.
Peter Bowles.
Yes, he was a younger man then, of course. Yes, but so that was all good fun. So that always was in my background, and there was a friend of mine at that stage who went off to a drama school, and he's been on Crossroads, I think, for the last 40 years.
Don't I hope I didn't end the friendship.
It's not Benny. It's not Benny from Crossroads.
No, he's called Christopher Chattel. Yes, I've lost track of him completely, but I'd just seen his name there, and. Yes, it's interesting how things come around.
Well, I think having being completely non-scientific myself, my degree was in humanities, but having worked with a lot of very, very technical people, I'll even include you in this, Laurie.
Well, even me.
Even you. I'll even say
you're
quite
your technical work.
Yeah, you're not bad.
The one
that's I think you just
made his entire career out of technical things.
You don't just hack it. I know you don't. But anyway, having met and liked and worked with a lot of very technical people in my ad agency background, jet engine manufacturers, not quite rocket scientists, but not far off.
Yeah.
Software, medicine, and I'll go in there, and I'm an idiot, obviously, but I do like asking questions.
And I used to have a row with one of my creative directors who thought that he was the only person that could be creative. And I think scientists and technical people are some of the most creative people out there. Look at what you've done with the Foodbank. You've come in, you've taken some knowledge, how you solve problems creatively, and made it work. But is the acting the actual real outlet for your slightly fluffier creativity?
Yeah, I guess so. It's an avenue where it's good for your brain because you've got to learn the lines, you've got to get into the characters, you can have fun, and they're a good group. They really are an amazing bunch. So we always enjoy that, and I think somewhere in the gene pool it's rubbing off on my 9 grandchildren.
Wow.
And we were over in Nottingham recently watching my granddaughter playing Wendy in
Peter Pan?
An extension of Peter Pan. It was called Peter and Wendy.
Right, okay. I have heard of that.
And and she was holding very well.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
who would you most like to play?
Who would I most like to
when
play?
Whitchurch Theatre Group does its next thing, who would you most like to play and in what?
I think in its time, it would have been John Cleese in playing 40 Towers.
Right, okay.
I would have loved that part.
Yeah.
But I watch most dramas and think, could I do that or could I do that? Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't, and sometimes you see yourself,
Yeah.
But I just enjoy it. I mean,
it's great fun, isn't it?
It's good fun, and hopefully the people who come enjoy it as well. And if you did come to Vicar of Dibley recently, you will be pleased to know, I think, that probably in February there might be Vicar of Dibley at Christmas.
Ah.
But
Is it based on one of the episodes, or has someone written it?
Yeah, somebody's
Penned it.
pulled it together
Got you.
from various elements. Last time it ended up with the wedding,
Yeah.
and this one is pulling other elements towards the Christmas period.
Can I just ask you one thing?
Yeah.
There was a very famous episode where she fell into a very deep puddle. Were you able to make use of a trapdoor on the stage and just have someone fall through the trapdoor for the puddle scene?
Sadly,
You can have that on me if you haven't done that yet. So you can take that.
Since we've lost the Civic, we haven't got the ability to drop through anything because we're now in the Talbot Theatre down at SJT.
Right.
And that's a solid floor. There's no holes.
Oh,
You
dear.
could have done it on this Civic one, couldn't you, as well?
I'm afraid that...
Another reason to save the Civic.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Good.
Save
Yes.
the Civic.
Without doubt. We are stuck for some of the productions that we can do because we haven't got that big area anymore. But Katie, who played Geraldine, would, I'm sure, have loved to have fallen into a hole.
Fallen into a hole.
Yes.
And on that note, falling
On
into a
that
hole.
bombshell.
We're not doing a Clarkson here.
Okay.
I just think I'm going to stick with, are we done?
I think we're done.
Do you think we're done?
I think
done?
so. After,
Anything you've
You
missed?
feel done?
I probably have missed loads of things.
Yeah, we've only had an hour or so.
Like jumping out of an aeroplane to raise money for Foodbank.
Did
I not mention that?
No, tell me about jumping out of a perfectly serviceable plane.
Well, our wonderful guys down the road at Tilstock there, Flying School, had an offer for the Foodbank, and they said if you would like to have 10 people jump out of an aeroplane on a tandem skydive, then we won't charge you anything, and you can keep all the money you raised. And we raised over £15,000.
Flipping heck.
And I loved every minute of it, or every second.
It probably only lasted about a
because
minute.
it wasn't that long to come down that far. But yeah, so people do some strange things to help Foodbank, and that was one of them.
That was an exhilarating one, though, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a junkie when it
Sounds
comes
like
to
that's up my street as well, to be honest.
I'd be very, very happy to throw you out of the plane.
Yeah, you do that, mate.
I'll give you that
worries.
push.
Recommend, absolutely recommend.
Cool. Well, I think
We're done.
Wrapped.
we're done. That's the first time our interviewee has actually said he's done. Normally we have to tell him they're done.
He said he's done, and he's literally just left. He's gone.
He's been done.
Right.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
That was.
Thanks, Alan.
That was really, really interesting. Thank
okay?
you. Yeah, loved it.
Excellent.
The lock-in is a conversation on a canal boat, often accompanied by beer. Every couple of weeks, we'll talk to someone from Whitchurch who has contributed to our community, who has a story, who makes the town special. They could come from any age, any background, any walk of life, but they embody the spirit of this fantastic, sometimes overly modest little market town. So, if you have a story, something to say, or know someone that does, we'd love you or them to get on board and tell us what floats your boat, gets your engine running, makes you tick. You get the picture.